Hello students, in today's lecture we will see the myoneural junction. The myoneural junction, the first of all the definition. The myoneural junction means it is the junction in between the nerve fiber and the muscle fiber. As in the periphery, the nerve fibers they ends on the muscle. And the ends on the muscle, that ending or that junction in between the nerve fibers and the muscle fiber is called as a myoneural junction. Now the anatomy or the structure of the myoneural junction. Just observe the figure carefully, then I will go for the explanation. See, do you observe the figure? The terminal fibers of the nerve, the ends on the muscle fiber, where the axons they ends into the axon terminals, and these axon terminals they ends on the sarcolemma of the muscle fibers. When these axon terminals the ends, before ending they loses the first myelin sheath, then neurolemma, and at last it only have the continuation of the covering of the cytoplasm of the Schwann cells, and the nerve fibers they thus ends as a naked nerve fibers, means they don't have any covering when they ends on the sarcolemma. They ends as naked fibers. At the end, when they ends on the sarcolemma, these nerve terminals they shows the rounded shape, which is called as the axon sole feet. Axon sole feet. And on the other side, if you see the sarcolemma that is covering the muscle fibers, the sarcolemma it shows the invaginations, and these invaginations are called as a synaptic gutter. These axon terminals or these axon surface they ends into or large into that synaptic gutter. That synaptic gutter. Here they are not directly contact with the sarcoplasm, isn't it? There is a space in between the sarcoplasm, and the axon terminal, which is called as a synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft. We'll see this axon sole foot. It contains, or first of all, see it is covered by a membrane which is called as a pre-junctional membrane. Covered by a membrane which is shown by the blue line. Pre-junctional membrane. And within the axon sole foot, you will see that we have been shown here the vesicles. These are called as the synaptic vesicles. These synaptic vesicles are concerned with the secretion and the storage of the neurotransmitter substances, the substances that require to transmit the impulses from the nerve fiber to the muscle fibers. Along with these synaptic vesicles within the axon sole foot, you will see there are the number of the mitochondria, numerous mitochondria, and also there is a presence of the reticulum, endoplasmic reticulum. As this axon sole foot is covered by a pre-junctional membrane, the sarcolemma in this invagination also covered by a membrane which is called a post-junctional membrane. And there is a gap in between the pre-junctional membrane and the post-junctional membrane. This is called as a synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft. And beyond this sarcolemma, you will see there are the muscle fibers or myofibrils which contain the multiple nuclei. Multiple nuclei. Another one junction you will see here. That is another myoneural junction. Here another myoneural junction is there where other axon terminals of the same nerve fiber or of the other axons or nerve fibers will end on the muscles. And this forms the myoneural junction. Do you understood? The myoneural junction, I will repeat again, the myoneural junction, it is a junction in between the nerve fiber and the muscle fibers, where the terminal nerve fibers, the ends on the muscle fibers or the sarcolemma of the muscle fibers is called as a myoneural junction. This is an anatomy of the myoneural junction. Then next the junction forms toward the transmit the impulses from the nerve fiber to the muscles. That message which comes from the muscles for excitation or for the contraction. Then we will see, do you understood this one? Then we will go for the neuromuscular transmission. You will get the separate short notes on two questions. That one is the myoneural junction and says the neuromuscular transmission. So when we completed the myoneural junction, then we will go for the neuromuscular transmission. Neuromuscular transmission. Neuromuscular transmission. Now what do I neuromuscular transmission? The neuromuscular transmission means it is the transmission of the impulses from the nerve fiber to the muscle fibers. The transmission of the impulses from the nerve fiber to the muscle fiber is called as a neuromuscular transmission. Now how does it take place? See, that's called mechanism of neuromuscular transmission. Neuromuscular transmission means how does the transmission of the impulses takes place across the myoneural junction, that is from the nerve fiber to the muscle fibers. Just see how does it take place mechanism. Here the nerve action potential or impulse passes through the axon cylinder, and from this axon cylinder this nerve action potential it reaches to the axon terminal. When it reaches the axon terminal, it will causes the excitation of the prejunctional membrane. This prejunctional membrane. As soon as this excitation of the prejunctional membrane takes place, the calcium from the synaptic cleft or from the extracellular fluid, it enters into the axonal fluid and it causes calcium, isn't it? The calcium ions from the synaptic cleft, it enters into the axonal fluid through the prejunctional membrane, and it causes a release of the neurotransmitter substances, that is acetylcholine, from the synaptic vesicles into the synaptic cleft. Then these neurotransmitter substances, they runs across the synaptic cleft or the synaptic cleft or this gap towards where postjunctional membrane. These neurotransmitter substances, this reaches to the postjunctional membrane. At the postjunctional membrane, there forms the acetylcholine receptor complex. It means this complex receives the acetylcholine, and the maximum amount of this neurotransmitter substance or acetylcholine it gather on the postjunctional membrane. Then this acetylcholine it causes EPSP, means excitation of the postjunctional membrane, causing its depolarization. As soon as the depolarization takes place, the sodium from the synaptic cleft, it passes into the sarcolemma, that is called as sodium conduction. When it occurs, when at the postjunctional membrane, the excitation of postjunctional membrane takes place. After the excitation of the postjunctional membrane, there is a dislodgement of the calcium ions from postjunctional membrane, causing the opening of the protein pores. As soon as protein pores opens, the sodium passes from the synaptic cleft or extracellular fluid into the sarcolemma. or into muscle fibers. That is called sodium conduction, and this is called as a depolarization. After that, the potassium from the sarcolemma, it passes into the synaptic cleft or extracellular fluid, and the impulse gets propagated into the muscle beyond the sarcolemma in the muscle fibers, and this impulse transmitted from one muscle fibers to the another muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers start to contract after the excitation of these substances. As soon as these impulses passes into the muscle fibers or beyond the sarcolemma, what happens? This inhibition of the prejunctional membrane takes place. This inhibition prevents the further release of the neurotransmitter substances. Secondly, the residual amount of the neurotransmitter substances. Residual amount means what? The amount of the neurosubstances which has been remained after use for the producing the excitation of postjunctional membrane. That's residual. जो बचे हुए neurotransmitter substances है, that are neutralized by acetylcholine esterase enzyme. Acetylcholine esterase enzyme. And in this way, the muscle gets impulse from the nerve fibers and they respond to the impulse coming from the either center or through the motor fibers are there. And there is no any conducting fibers to the muscle fibers, other muscle fibers. The impulses spread over the muscles through the muscle fibers. From this muscle fiber to this muscle fiber, from this to the another, and it spread all over the muscle, and the muscle fibers gets contact togetherly. So this is called as a neuromuscular transmission. To understand how to remember the neuromuscular transmission, just we will see the series. How does it take place of stages of the neuromuscular transmission? First of all, we will see the nerve action potential. It reaches to where? Pre-junctional membrane. Causes excitation of the pre-junctional membrane is excitation. After excitation, it will cause release of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. Or you can write full up. Acetylcholine. That is what? Neurotransmitter substances. They are released from the synaptic vesicles into a synaptic cleft in the presence of calcium. Or calcium ion causes a release from synaptic vesicles. And these neurotransmitter substances, acetylcholine, it reaches to PJM, that is a postjunctional membrane, isn't it? Via what? Synaptic cleft. Across the synaptic cleft. At postjunctional membrane, it causes what? Receptor complex. Receptor complex for acetylcholine. And this acetylcholine gets deposited where? On the postjunctional membrane, causes excitation of postjunctional membrane. And after exciting, what happens? Opening of protein pores. Protein pores. Why? Due to dislodgement of the calcium from postjunctional membrane. As protein pores opens, what happens? Sodium gas enters into sarcolemma, and potassium passes into extracellular fluid, means from here to here. and in this way the impulse is transmitted from the axon soul food or axon terminal to the muscle fibers. And after this transmission of the impulses, then what happens? Sodium pumped out from the sarcolemma into the extracellular fluid, and the potassium passes from extracellular fluid within the sarcolemma or beyond the sarcolemma, that's into the intracellular fluid, and it comes to the normal level. This is the neuromuscular transmission. They understood? Watch the video carefully and try to understand the myoneural junction and the neuromuscular transmission. That's all. Thank you.